During the Second World War, Poland was caught between the Allied and Axis powers, facing invasion, occupation, and humanitarian devastation. In the aftermath, Poland was no longer recognized as a free nation, but instead became a bargaining tool for post-war negotiations. Following the Allied victory, it fell behind the Iron Curtain, and over the next few decades, the Soviet Union continued to oppress the political, economic, and religious power of Polish citizens. However, the desire for a free Poland remained throughout the years. Emerging from a workers' strike in 1980, Solidarity played a critical role in eradicating Soviet authority in Poland, expanding into a social and political movement that laid the foundation for the fall of the Iron Curtain in Eastern Europe. In the 1970s, Poland was facing severe economic decline. The federal debt was at an all-time high, reaching $18 billion, with production plummeting, wages becoming stagnant, and shortages of food and supplies. Workers in the industrial and agricultural sectors became increasingly frustrated with communist policies. On August 14, 1980, the dismissal of crane operator and union activist Anna Walentynowicz from her job in the Lenin shipyard ignited a workers' strike, 17,000 strong. Led by electrician Lech Walesa, the workers' strike spread throughout Poland, prompting 21 demands to be posted outside of the Lenin shipyard in Gdansk. Most notably, the workers advocated for the establishment of free trade unions to better represent their interests.
Poland's communist leader, Edward Gierek, wanted to pursue political negotiations over military action. Negotiations began on the 21st of August, an approach unprecedented in a nation under Soviet control. By August 30th, the parties came to agreement. The Gdansk Social Accord allowed the establishment of a free trade union that could represent workers' economic interests. However, there was one condition. As the agreement states, these new unions are intended to defend the social and material interests of the workers and not to play the role of a political party. In September of 1980, Polish workers established the independent self-governing trade union Solidarity, or NSZZ Solidarność. Over the next few months, it remained an organization focused on nonviolent protests about the economic crisis in Poland. But as time passed, Solidarity became a voice for the social and political transgressions felt by many. Solidarity's relationship with the Catholic Church became an essential component, with financial aid and a sense of unity among the diverse citizens. The Polish Pope, John Paul II, made a pilgrimage to his home nation just a year before the first strike. The Pope brought a sense of patriotism and religious pride, inspiring Catholic Poles across the nation.
I byśmy się długo komuniści by nas rozbijali. To spowodowało zorganizowanie wprawdzie do modlitwy.
This new sense of unity changed Solidarity's focus from representing workers' economic interests to projecting all Soviet authority in Poland. Solidarity reached heights unimagined in a Soviet-occupied country. In just over a year, its numbers would swell from 1 million to 9 million, nearly a quarter of the country's overall population. Such exponential growth was due to the Solidarity's call for democratic elections in Poland and its strong relationship with the Catholic Church. The movement appealed to university students, educated and working classes alike, who advocated for long-term societal change.
This growth was intimidating to Soviet officials and leaders. In response, General Wojciech Jaruzelski imposed martial law on December 13, 1981. After its establishment, Solidarity and other small pro-democracy organizations were banned, and over 5,000 of Solidarity's leaders and supporters, including Lech Walesa, were arrested and imprisoned overnight with no charges. Curfews were enforced, national borders were sealed, airports closed, and main roads leading to cities were restricted. The Communist Party imposed these laws to halt growing movements like Solidarity from influencing the government even more.
After the imposition of martial law, the Solidarity movement went underground, but remained strong for the next 8 years. Despite the tragedy of most of its leaders being arrested and jailed without sentence or trial, and citizens facing years of police harassment, the nonviolent protesting persisted. Such success in a USSR-dominated region was unprecedented. A few key factors contributed to the Solidarity's overall achievements.
First, Solidarity's use of illegal publications and unconventional communication mediums continued Polish engagement with the Solidarity movement, particularly during martial law. Their samizdat, or self-published pamphlets, were copied by presses hidden in church basements and passed from person to person manually. Solidarity circulated 7 different newspapers and distributed booklets that instructed Poles on how to identify secret police and bypass censorship. Bill stickers would post flyers and posters containing slogans and information about upcoming rallies and strikes.
Myśmy działali niejako oficjalnie, podawaliśmy swoje nazwiska, ale cały ten proces drukowania to był bardzo zakonspirowany. Drukowania i dystrybucji.
Distributors and bill stickers faced jail time of up to 3 years if they were caught with Solidarity materials. But their efforts to spread information were paramount in maintaining influence and relevance during the communist crackdown.
Additionally, the charismatic leadership of Lech Walesa garnered international support for the movement. Establishing himself as a leader in the early workers' strikes allowed him to gain notoriety within the Solidarity movement. And as an electrician and family man, Walesa had a personal connection to the movement's values and established credibility with fellow workers. His natural charm and wit caused Poles and international supporters alike to see something great in him. Awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1983, he helped build strong ties with influential nations like the United States, and maintained a nonviolent approach to fighting communism in Poland. Scholars argue that Polish citizens had such faith in Walesa and the movement that they were willing to risk anything for him. To everyone, Walesa embodied a working-class hero. In early 1989, due to rising economic and social pressure, General Jaruzelski agreed to talk with Solidarity in the historic Round Table Talks. After nearly 2 months of negotiations, a 400-page document was signed, officially recognizing Solidarity as a political party. This triumph was unparalleled in any other Eastern European country. In its first free election since World War II, in June of 1989, Solidarity saw huge success, and with Lech Walesa's presidential victory, Poland formed the first non-communist government in the Soviet bloc.
But a democratic Poland had more problems they needed to overcome. Under the leadership of Solidarity, the nation worked to stimulate the failing economy. Walesa's international ties allowed the nation to receive aid from countries like the United States, and over the course of the next decade, Poland slowly but surely recovered from Soviet occupation, decentralizing government power and building strong relationships with neighboring countries.
The success of Solidarity in Poland created a cascading effect across the Eastern Bloc, leading to many nonviolent and peaceful anti-communist protests throughout Central and Eastern Europe. The USSR's hold on more than 15 countries began to crumble, and in November of 1989, with the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Iron Curtain came down. With international support for the newly formed countries and the wisdom of Solidarity's success, Eastern Europe began the road to recovery.
Now, 30 years later, many see the success of Solidarity in a different light. Present-day Polish citizens view Solidarity as a cause of the collapsed economy and rise of Catholic nationalism in the 21st century. Many politicians argue that the rights of workers are burdens on the state and the economy, associating them with the communist regime of their past. And others are attempting to erase Lech Walesa from history altogether, painting him as a villain. Despite this, Solidarity should be recognized for all that it achieved.
While it started small, the Solidarity movement should be celebrated. It united Poland through the people's desire for freedom from communist rule. To conclude in the famous words of Lech Walesa,
"My most ardent desire is that my country will recapture its historic opportunity for a peaceful evolution, and that Poland will prove to the world that even the most complex situations can be solved by dialogue, and not by force."